morning, Area 51 theorists of the interwebs. I'm Alexa, resident ookie spooky girly, and, urban legend lover. So not to sound like a broken record, but if I've said it once, I've said it a million times. Government whistleblowers are among the witnesses I consider the most credible when it comes to all things to do with things we don't know for sure. If that made sense at all. It made sense in my brain. So question for you. What's your take on Area 51? Let me know what you believe in the comments, and welcome to the top 5 Area 51 urban legends proven true by government whistleblowers. Number 5. Reverse engineering. So in the 1989 interview Bob Lazar did, he said he worked at a secret facility that, don't worry, I'll talk more about it later, where alien technology was being reverse engineered. Meaning, taken apart to figure out how it worked and whether the Pentagon could duplicate it. Hey, the premise seems less absurd now. It was the 80s. We didn't know a whole lot. Bob said that his job was to help with the reverse engineering of one of 9 flying saucers, which he alleged were extraterrestrial in origin. He claims that one of the flying saucers, the one he coined the Sport model, was manufactured out of a metallic substance similar in appearance and touch to liquid titanium. Bob said that the propulsion of the studied vehicle ran on an antimatter reactor and was fueled by the chemical element with atomic number 115. Yes, don't worry. We all know about atomic number 15, not exactly the super stable thing, and nobody's been able to recreate it. In a subsequent interview that November, Bob appeared unmasked and under his own name. So that's when we found out. It's like, oh, hey, that guy. Where he claimed that his job interview for work at the facility was with the contractor EG&G and that his official employer was the United States Navy. Bob said that the craft he was working on was, dismantled, and the reactor he studied was topped by a sphere or semi-sphere which emitted a force field capable of repulsing human flesh. Ow. He further explained though that the craft was split into 2 main levels, so the reactor was positioned at the center of the upper level, with an antenna extending to the top, surrounded by 3 gravity amplifiers. Now these were connected to gravity emitters on the lower level, which can rotate 180 degrees to output a gravity beam or anti-gravity wave. In 1989, Bob said that the seats of the saucer he saw were approximately tiny human-sized, and that he had even seen alien cadavers of a corresponding size. He's mentioned that the main craft he worked on would aim its belly to the target and then bring all of the amplifiers to power, and then fly off in that direction, with the belly or the bottom kind of forward. If that description of a spacecraft tilting sounds familiar, I'm assuming you're familiar with the gimbal UFO? So the Pentagon released a video back in 2017 where naval pilots encountered a fleet of the unknown craft off of the coast of Florida, which was in 2015, and have since had dozens of similar encounters. So in said gimbal video, there's a mechanistic turn against the wind without deceleration, which, not to get all science speak, it means that a craft without rotors, no heat signatures, no plumes, no tail fins, no nothing, and also certainly no tail number, moves in a way that is counterintuitive to aeronautics. Look at me using science words. So when Bob saw it, he said it had to be a gravity-propelled craft which mimics the propulsion system that he described. Okay, if that's not enough for you, let's think about another famous UFO incident. What's one I've talked about a million times? Oh right, the Tic Tac. This is more in 2004. Now the Navy pilot who engaged the Tic Tac, Black Aces commander Dave Fravor, says he doesn't believe the astonishing craft was made on Earth, and that the propulsion might be, and is probably, anti-gravity. So somebody showed the video to Bob, and he was like, right away, sport mode. The craft stashed in the desert. He said it's the exact same propulsion system. Now let's bring in former Pentagon intelligence officer Lou Elizondo, who's in charge of, the secret Pentagon study, ATIP. So he told some folks that one goal of the project was to determine the physics of UFOs, how they can achieve the seemingly impossible, impossible to our little human noggins. The military came to believe the craft relied on special metamaterials, stuff that can't be made with known technology. So gee, where have we heard that before? Oh right! Bob already made those claims and was ridiculed. So what do you know, the Pentagon's now on the same page? Bob said it first. Number 4, UFO Recovery Program. So, let's move on to a different whistleblower, David Charles Grush. He's a veteran of the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, or NGA, the National, the NRO. I'm not going to say the full name because every time I say that specific word, somebody corrects my pronunciation. That's where he served as a representative to the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force from 2019 to 2021. Now from late 2021 to July of 2022, he was the NGA co-lead for UAP analysis and its representative to the task force led by the Department of the Navy, under the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence and Security. At the NGO, David served as a Senior Intelligence Capabilities Integration Officer, cleared at the top secret compartmented information level. So from 2016 to 2021, he served with the NRO as Senior Intelligence Officer and led the production of the Director's Daily Briefing. He was a GS-15 civilian, so the military equivalent of a colonel, and has numerous awards and decorations for his participation in covert and, secret operations to advance American security. Long story short, all that gobbledygook means, the guy's credible. Now, he said the recoveries of partial fragments through and up to intact vehicles have been made for decades, through to the present day, by the government, its allies, and defense contractors. He said that the craft recovery operations are ongoing at various levels of activity, and that individuals on these UAP programs have approached him in his official capacity and disclosed their concerns regarding a multitude of wrongdoings, such as illegal contracting against the federal acquisitions regulations and other criminality and the suppression of information across a qualified industrial base in academia. Now, associates who vouched for David said his information was highly sensitive, providing evidence that materials from objects of non-human origin are in the possession of highly secret, programs. Wow. Multiple government witnesses. You don't say. So even though locations, program names, and other specifics remain classified, the Inspector General and Intelligence Committee staff were provided with all the details. So don't worry. The people who need the information need it. We just don't have it yet. Analysis has determined that the objects retrieved are of non-human origin based on the vehicle morphologies, and material science testing and the possession of unique atomic arrangements and radiological signatures. Now, the investigation was centered on extensive interviews with high-level intelligence officials, some of whom are directly involved with the program. And what do you know? They corroborated his information. David is pretty certain that the information he knows has been illegally withheld from Congress to intentionally thwart legitimate congressional oversight of the UAP program. He's also filed a complaint alleging that he suffered illegal retaliation for his confidential disclosures. In his statements, David claimed that UFO legacy programs have long been concealed within multiple agencies, nesting UAP activities in conventional secret access programs without appropriate reporting to various oversight authorities. According to the unclassified complaint, in July of 2021, he had confidentially provided classified information to the Department of Defense Inspector General concerning the withholding of UAP-related information from Congress. Now, Christopher Mellon, who spent nearly 20 years in the U.S. intelligence community and served as the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence, has worked with Congress for years on unidentified aerial phenomena. Now, he's mentioned that a number of well-placed current and former officials have shared detailed information with them, including, no big, just the location where a craft was abandoned and recovered. He claims the reason more folks haven't come forward is due to a lack of trust in the leadership of the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, established by Congress. The assumption that the United States alone has bullied the other nations into maintaining this secrecy for nearly a century. Yeah, I kind of believe it. What about you? Number 3, location. So sure. Yeah, everybody today knows that Area 51 is the common name of this, highly classified United States Air Force facility within the Nevada Test and Training Range. As a remote detachment administered by the Edwards Air Force Base, the facility is officially called Homey Airport or Groom Lake, depending on who you ask. It's just home to all things unknown. Lots of aliens, lots of folks like myself who believe in, aliens and UFOs. We're all pretty sure that that's where all the flying discs and more tend to be housed. We all know this. It's commonly thought to support the development and testing of experimental aircraft and weapons systems. The CIA only publicly acknowledged the base's existence in 2013, June 25th to be exact, following a Freedom of Information Act request filed in 2005 and declassified documents detailing its history and purpose. So who do we have to thank for all this? Bob Lazar. Earlier when I mentioned that 1989 interview, when he was under the pseudonym of Dennis and he had his face hidden? Well, that's when he talked about his employment at S4, which is a subsidiary facility he had claimed, exists near Area 51. Once again, folks, back in 1989, Area 51 wasn't like the common knowledge it was today. It was like, oh, middle of the desert, cool, there's dust there. It's like, no, there's aliens there. So back in 1989 was when he claimed that the facility was adjacent to the Papoose Lake, which is located south of the main Area 51 facility at Groom Lake. He claimed the site consisted of concealed aircraft hangars built into a mountainside. He's mentioned that, he was walking down the hallway once, briefly glanced through a door that he wasn't supposed to, and saw what he interpreted as 2 men in lab coats facing down and talking to something small with long arms. Now, he's not sure if he saw an alien at that time. Might have just been like a doll as reference, but still, Area 51, that's where they house all the material recovered at Roswell. That's where they study all of the occupants, where we manufacture aircrafts based on alien technology. Oh, and it might also be a place to host meetings or joint undertakings with extraterrestrials. It also tends to be where the development of exotic energy weapons for the Strategic Defense Initiative, or other weapons programs happens, and possibly where they're working on projects to do with weather control, time travel, teleportation, and exotic propulsion systems related to the Aurora program, which that's a whole other freaking can of worms. Many of these tend to do with the underground facilities at Groom or Papoose Lake. The S4 location that Bob talked about. Technically, it's 8.5 miles south and includes, claims of a transcontinental underground railroad system and a disappearing airstrip named the Cheshire Strip, after, the Cheshire Cat from Alice in Wonderland. Because the strip briefly appears when water is sprayed onto it, it's camouflaged asphalt. And, This is all engineering based on alien technology. Number 2, the Dreamland Documentary. So in this 1996 documentary, directed by Bruce Burgess, it included an interview with a 71-year-old mechanical engineer who claimed to be a former employee at Area 51 during the 1950s. His claims included that he worked on a flying disc simulator, which had been based on a disc originating from a crashed extraterrestrial craft and was used to train pilots. He also claimed to have worked with an extraterrestrial named J-Rod, and he described J-Rod as a telepathic translator. Number 1, contact with aliens. So once again, we're back to Bob Lazar. So he claimed that during, his time with the program, he read briefing documents describing the historical involvement of Earth for the past 10,000 years with extraterrestrial beings described as gray aliens. He read briefing documents describing the historical involvement of the Earth for the past 10,000 years with extraterrestrial beings described as gray aliens from a planet orbiting the twin binary star system Zeta Reticuli. So as of September of 2019, no extrasolar planets have been found in that star system, according to the government, but we all know they can lie to us about that. So if you don't know, what the heck is Zeta Reticuli? So it's a binary star system in the southern constellation of Reticulum. From the southern hemisphere, the pair can be seen with the naked eye as a double star in the very dark skies, but based upon parallax measurements, the system is located at a distance of about 39.3 light years from Earth. Now both stars are solar analogs that have characteristics similar to those of the Sun, and they belong to the Zeta Herculis moving group of stars that share a common origin. So you might be asking okay Alexa, what does this have to do with the aliens? Yeah, we all know Skinny Bob? Yeah. And that brings us to the end of our time, and who wants to plan an actual trip to, storm Area 51 with me? I'm kidding, I think. So if you enjoyed my ramblings today, could you help us out by giving this video a like, subscribing if you weren't already, hit the bell for more urban legends from us here at Top 5 Scary Videos, and I'll see y'all next time, you lovely spooky people.